let's talk about how to add up in Excel. It's probably one of the most common things we need to do, and a lot of people say it's probably the easiest things we can do. But the problem is, it's only easy if you add up in the way that Excel tells you, and sometimes it doesn't go quite to plan. So we're going to have a look at a couple of easy ways of doing it. We're going to have a look at how we can speed it up. I'm also going to have a look at how we can look at the function and amend it. So let's just start off with talking about where the auto function is and what it does. So on the ribbon, the auto function is on the top right. It depends on the size of your screen. If you've got quite a big screen, it will normally have the word Autosum next to it. If you've got a smaller screen, sometimes on a laptop, it will just be shown as this little icon. So don't worry if you haven't got the word in full. Now, a lot of buttons in Excel are really two buttons, and the Autosum is one of those. So if you catch the arrow instead of the icon, what it will do will give you a choice of functions, and sum is one of them. But best way to do it is just click on the larger part of the button, and that will bring the Autosum function straight up. If you click on the arrow, just choose sum, and that's fine as well. So that's the first thing. Now let's look at how the Autosum function works. I'm going to show the easy way first. So the easiest way to use it is you highlight the figures. Remember, when you highlight, make sure your mouse pointer is a fat white cross, and you go into the middle of the cell. So I'm going to start at cell B2, and if you look at my cursor, it's right in the middle of the cell, and then I'm going to click and drag down to the bottom. So it's highlighted those 4 cells. Remember, the first one always appears white. It's still included in the highlight because there's a green border around it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to click on the Autosum. It's going to put the answer at the bottom. So let's click on that Autosum button. Remember the one I showed you in the top right? There we go. So the answer's gone at the bottom. Fantastic. Nice and easy. Highlight the figures. Let's do this with the east. So I'm going to highlight C2 to C5. Click on Autosum. Now when you do that, let's click back on B5 and look at what we've actually done. I'm going to look at the formula bar. So this is the formula bar. So by highlighting the cells, clicking on the Autosum, Excel puts together the formula. And let's have a look at what this formula actually does. So let's think about how we got this function to work and how we managed to get the figure down here in B6. So the cells we wanted to add up, we started from B2, and our last cell we wanted to add up is B5. So we know these ones in orange are the ones we want to total. Now the computer, when we have B2 to B5, Excel writes it like this. So B2 is the first cell. The colon, that's the 2 dots, is effectively the word 2, and B5 is the last cell. So in order for Excel to understand what's going to add up, it uses B2 to B5. That's that part of the formula. But that only tells Excel what cells. It doesn't tell it what to do with those cells. So we need another part of the puzzle. Let's look at that. So the first part of the puzzle is to use the word equals sum. So equals sum is giving Excel an instruction to total, to add up. And then we open the brackets to show that we're then moving on to the next part of the formula, which is the cell references. So if I was to translate this to you, it's a bit like learning to speak a foreign language, learning Excel. It would say equals sum, add up, open the bracket. I'm now going to see what I need to add up. I'm going to start at B2, the colon, which means 2, B5, close the brackets to tell Excel that I've finished. So let's just work that through again. Equals sum, add up. Open the brackets for the cells, put the first cell in, put the colon in, put the last cell in, close the brackets. Now when you use the Autosum that I was showing you earlier, it is using that formula. It is, and a lot of the time it gets it right. So if we go back and look at our spreadsheet, you will see that that's what the formula says. Let's go and have a look. So here we are in B6, and if I look in my formula bar, there it is, that's the formula. But occasionally what Excel will do when you're using the Autosum is it won't pick up the right figures, and this is where it starts to go a little bit wrong, or you'll think, well, why is that answer different? So let's talk about some of the pitfalls with this. The first one is when we think, okay, so for instance, we've done this one and we used Autosum, but Excel's put it right below the figures. Now I actually might want the answer to be in A7 or B7. I might want to leave a line, and the way I did it the first time doesn't allow me to do that, so I'm going to show you a different way. So let's get rid of those totals, and we're going to start by putting the cursor in B7, so that's where the answer is going to go. Now I'm going to do the Autosum. I'm going to do it the other way round this time. I'm going to start with the Autosum, then I'm going to highlight. So let's go over to the Autosum button, and can you see Excel has guessed? It said, right, I think you want to add up these figures. Now I kind of want those, but I don't, because I don't want that blank line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw over, just by clicking and dragging, the figures I do want. So now it's using B2 colon B5, and then when I press enter, you'll see it will actually not pick up the blank. Yes. Now I can type this in, and actually some people do find this easier. So if I start off in C7, I'm going to add up, and it's always a good idea when I'm doing this in my head to work out the range first that I'm adding up. So I know I want to add up C2 to C5. Right, keep that in the back of my mind. Start off with equals sum, open bracket. So remember, that's the instruction to our Excel to add up. So I now want the first cell, which is C2, and I'm going to put my colon in, and I want the last cell, which is C5. Close my brackets, press my enter. Remember, the enter key finishes off the formula. Yes, okay. So let's try this again in column D. I'm going to click in D7. I'm going to put the formula in manually. So I'm going to do equals sum, open bracket, start with the first cell. So the first cell in column D I want to add up is D2. So let's put in D2. My colon, which means 2, to D5. Adding up equals sum from D2 to D5, close the brackets, press enter. Let's try a slightly more complex one. We're going to go into cell F1 where I want my answer to be, and this time I want to add up all my figures for January, February, March, April, and for North, South, East and West. So let's just have a look at the cell range first. So if we have a look at this, so the first cell is going to be B2, and the last cell to be added is going to be D5. I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind, but we need the sum. So let's start off with equals sum, open bracket, and then we're going to take the first cell, which is B2, colon, and I want the last cell, which is D5, and there you go. Can you see it's put a blue box around the figures I've selected or I've typed in, so I know what figures Excel's adding, so I know that's right. Close my brackets, press enter, and there we go. So that's 382. Now I can amend this. So let's look in my formula bar, and let's say I actually only wanted the West. I didn't want all of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the B2, which is there, to a D2. So let's just click on my formula bar, and in this formula bar, treat like you would a line of text. You can edit it, you can change it, and what I suggest, play around with it, just practice. Right, let's change the B to a D. It's not case sensitive. Press enter, and there we go. So that's 175. So it's very easy to change. Let's say I just wanted the East and the West. So the difference there, it would be C2 to D5. So let's click on the answer. I'm just going to change the D2 to C2, press enter, And there we go. Now there's a handy little double check. I'm going to show you this. So I'm going to highlight C2 to D2, and I'm just going to take your eyes down to the bottom of your screen, the bottom bit there, and you'll see in the background Excel's been calculating these. It's done a sum, and it's done a count also of how many there are and an average, but I can just double check that. So what I'd like you to do, if you're practicing this, try it on a different range, highlight some figures and just have a look in that bottom right corner, and you've got a little double check there of what you've highlighted. So if you're in ever any doubt that the Autosum is totaling the right thing, just use your double check in the bottom right, make sure the figures are okay, and then you know you're doing it right. I think what I'm really trying to say to you in the video is that Autosum is easy if you do it right, and that's why you need to know how to do these double checks, how the formula's made up, because then if it doesn't do quite what you want it to, and we know Excel sometimes likes to do its own thing, you might have an idea of how to solve it. So I hope this video has been useful, and do have a practice. I've just put in a very simple spreadsheet that you can input, or maybe just put in some figures of your own and try it out. Try putting your Autosum in manually, maybe have a look at that total in the bottom right hand corner, see how that works. Maybe just try the Autosum button and see how it changes according to where you've highlighted or where you've clicked and when it comes to adding up in your day-to-day work, or you're using Excel at home, this will make things so much easier for you. Thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, to like our channel, and if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear how you got on.